Good evening and welcome to Greater Somerville for January 20th, 2015. I'm Joe Lynch. My guests tonight are Emily and Emily, Casell and Hopkins. It will be up to you, dear viewer, to figure out who's who. Both are the new co-editors of our hometown Scout Somerville magazine. Since late fall of 2014, Emily Squared, or Emily times 2, have brought their unique perspective about Somerville to the pages of Scout. Freelance writers, Gilmore Girls fanatics, and now the co-editors for the Scout Media Empire. It is my pleasure to welcome the two Emilys, Casell and Hopkins, to Greater Somerville.
Thanks.
We've been having too much fun prior to the show, and it's going to show. I know that the viewers are going to go, what is he doing tonight? But welcome to Greater Somerville.
Thank you so much for having us.
I was speaking to Emily.
Oh.
So,
come on,
Emily.
Common mistake.
You like that?
Yeah.
Pretty good, huh?
It's actually really convenient because if anyone's ever mad at us, we can just kind of sidestep.
She was mad at Emily.
Always. Emily. That one's...
We're going to get into more fun on that, but I have to know the logic behind this. As most of the viewers know, the owner and publisher of Scout magazines, both Cambridge and Somerville, Holly Banks, made one of her first debuts in the media in Somerville on this show. She made it during the height of the recession. I think she had $14 in her pocket, and she was launching a glossy magazine. And to this day, she remembers what I said to her. Are you nuts? But she's done it. So you two landed at Scout magazine, but what possessed her to hire two women with the same name as co-editors? One of you have to tell the story.
Actually, so someone who used to work at Scout was moving on to another position in another company, and we go back a long way. And he contacted me. He knew I was then working at Trident Booksellers and Cafe with Emily. We were both working together. That's where we met.
You were authors at the time.
Well, in a
Something
way.
like that.
We also, yeah. And then essentially he called me one day and was like, I'm moving on. Do you want me to put your name in? He did. I got the job, and within a couple hours of accepting the position, I emailed Holly and said, I know you're trying to fill another position. I have this person who I think we really worked well together. We've written more since we met each other than we have in the last 5 years, and I think it would be really a positive team. They interviewed, and here we are.
Purely nepotism is what we're trying to say.
There's nothing wrong with nepotism. Welcome to the center of nepotism here in Somerville. But the question is, did you have to split the salary? No, I mean, this is the hot set. You didn't think it was going to be easy.
It's designed so that we can kind of collaborate on both magazines and not get burnt out.
Right.
There's not too much pressure on either of us. And we also get to explore other projects, writing for other companies when Scout only publishes every other month, which is great.
Every other month, right?
But we also like to do some other stuff around town.
Yeah, certainly.
So just so the viewers who have never seen Scout magazine because they live in Portugal, Scout magazine is not just Somerville anymore. It now has Cambridge. I was fortunate enough to go to their launch 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Almost exactly,
ago.
yeah. We just published issue 12, so.
Yeah.
It's amazing, though, huh?
Yeah.
She had $14 in her pocket, and she beat the odds.
She was living in the back room, I think, where the offices were. She was doing everything just...
I kept that secret for over a year.
You don't have to now.
Yeah. She doesn't live in the back room anymore.
Now
certainly not.
A sort of rags to riches story, living in your office to now we're at the Armory.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about the big move a little bit later on.
Yep.
But how about backgrounds? What was your background, and what kind of prompted you to get into the industry?
Well, for me, I studied journalism at Northeastern University. This is going to keep happening.
No, I'm not going to wear it out. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, totally fine. I studied journalism at Northeastern, and I had gone there because I was pretty much only good at writing, and that's what I wanted to do. I like to talk to people a lot, probably too much, and I like to write And so I put those things together and studied journalism. I worked for the music magazine at Northeastern while I was there, Tastemakers, which was very cool. I got to experience publishing glossy mags from the time I was, 18 or 19. So coming to work for Scout now in my early 20s is just kind of a continuation of that. It's what I want to do. It's what I think I'm good at. And Scout is a really awesome place to get to do that some more.
So it's a continuation of your education, really. Yeah.
A lot of the same. I went to BU, Boston University, for journalism and English because, again, I was only good.
Alumni.
I was only good at reading and writing, and I graduated. And a lot of people told me to go try and get jobs at places that were kind of these media conglomerates, these larger companies that could kind of deploy you wherever, or had a bunch of newspapers. And
that's called indentured servitude.
Kind of. I knew a person. Not to talk about the sorry state of some of the journalistic ventures out there, but I knew someone who was a co-op at a newspaper and saw his entire department fired until he was let go until he was the last one there. And so I really didn't want to go somewhere where it was, this kind of corporate structure. I really wanted to go somewhere where I could do local stuff, meet local people, do very hyper-local things. And then, this job really was very lucky. I held out for more than a year, and this turned up, and I'm just so grateful.
Well, neither of you will probably remember it, but in the inner city, the core inner cities, the cities the size of Somerville and Cambridge and Everett and Medford, at one time we had 3 or 4 local newspapers.
Right.
And then we started to see the decline of the community newspapers, and there was a whole confluence of the things that came together back in the probably mid-90s to late 90s, early 2000s, and you started to see all those local, hyper-local kind of magazines and newspapers just fold.
Right.
So that Somerville was left at one time with only 2 media outlets. One of them was the Somerville Journal, and the other was the Somerville News at that time. We're very, very fortunate now that there are enough smart people in the city that they've been able to take advantage of the new media. So Scat TV, certainly, we're 30-something years old down here, and we've embraced the new media. Holly understands the new media. You guys understand it, but I think it's a success story of Scout that it's been able to merge the two, the old print media and the new. So I think, success, it bodes well for people who are willing to learn, work at it, and live in the back room while not taking a big salary. So.
Right. Well, and I think Holly saw Somerville as a place that was really in need of and that could really benefit from that sort of, daily coverage online and using new media, but at the same time delving way further into people's stories in, a bi-monthly glossy magazine. And
I think it says something that we don't publish our actual magazine that often, and yet we still break stories. You broke that story about Ashley Rose.
Right, right.
This great
that was the very
fashion
last
designer.
edition that we got. Yeah.
And she hadn't really been written about before, and we got to do that because we were in the neighborhood, and we were becoming familiar with the people in the neighborhood, and we were listening. Essentially.
Absolutely.
There's a million stories.
That's
All
it.
you have to do is find the right one. Find the right one. But the real reason Holly Banks came here was to spend her trust fund money. That was, very few people know that about Holly, is that, she's got a trust fund that's going to last until she's 90, so.
I think we need to be asking for raises.
Yeah.
I think you should. And you'll get paid just about as much as I do doing this show down here at Scat TV. So the features that you guys have worked on, I think this was your first, the one that came out in December.
This was our first from start to finish.
From start to finish.
Yeah. We had done...
Talk a little bit about your features that you had.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So I did a lot of the Cambridge issue. So really quickly, I wrote about food trucks as a business model to get a brick and mortar store running. Talked about Clover. Talked about Mother Juice in Kendall Square and the taco truck. And I also did, over in Somerville, I did a news story about Somerville by Design coming to Winter Hill, and the kind of engagement and the future this is kind of developing as Somerville by Design tries to finalize its plans for the future of Winter Hill.
Mm-hmm.
So those are a couple of the things that I did.
Yeah, and for me, I wrote a good chunk of the most recent Somerville issue. I covered Ashley Rose, who was our cover feature. She's a wonderful Somerville-based fashion designer who I think has really big things ahead of her. I'm excited that I got to write about her at this stage in her career. So that
you knew her when?
5 years from now, I'm gonna be singing about this. But the other feature I wrote in the most recent Scout Somerville was it was 15 and 15. It was classes that people could get out and take in the city of Somerville in the new year. It let me profile some really awesome local businesses, and I was very excited to get to talk to a lot of those people in the community.
Yeah. Upcoming issue. It's coming out in March.
Yeah.
In March, yeah. Whew.
I know.
Sooner than you think.
I hate to tell you, Em, that's only a month away. So.
It's like a month and a couple weeks. We have plenty of time.
We'll
It's only the 20th.
Yeah, totally.
Are you
We're doing
gonna
great.
give the viewing audience a sneak peek on it?
Oh, absolutely. We don't actually have everything quite hunkered down into detail, but we can tell you that Scout Somerville is going to talk about transportation. We're talking about the Green Line extension. We're talking about...
Everyone talks about the Green
I
Line.
know.
You're all sick of it at this point.
I know.
You know, I don't think... I'll interject. For somebody who's been working on it off and on since '99, I don't think people get tired of hearing updates about it. I think what they get tired of hearing is, and there will be 7 stations, and here are the 7 stations. Now, I know, you know, and I know, sometimes you have to be careful when you're telling a story because you have to give the backstory.
Sure.
But I think that's what, you know, those of us who have followed it, and majority of people in Somerville have been here for a while, they just want the update.
Yeah.
They want to know.
Well, I think that and I'm working on this part of the piece, I'm kind of going to tackle it to try and answer 2 questions. Why is it taking so long? And what's going to happen when it gets here? And these are things I'm going to take a look at in the context of the Assembly Orange Line stop. And I'm, going to kind of comprehensively tell the story of why there were so many setbacks, what really happened. So that's kind of what you'll have to look for. Not detailed explanation of plans, but kind of like the questions that kind of everyone wants to know, and maybe you do know, but you haven't really had that explained to you all in one place.
Right.
And if you are hearing about it, we're still going to cover bikes. We're still going to cover, smart cars, new car movements. Yep. We have the new smart parking meters.
Walking life in Somerville.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty comprehensive.
Well, here's my suggestion. Make sure you give a dig to the mayor about why the community path between Cedar and Lowell wasn't opened on time. That follows right into what's taken so long.
That's true. Yeah. It's on our list.
He loves when I do this to him because, promises. I always say, be careful what you promise, because if you can't deliver it, people like me are going to say, why? So that path is complete between Cedar and Lowell, but it's still closed. So what happened? Because Joe wants to know.
Okay.
You could have your own column.
Yeah,
because Joe wants to know.
Yeah.
I do have my own column in Scout Magazine. It's called, what do you call your little upfront piece, Pics and Pans?
Or, winners and losers.
Winners and losers. I've wound up in the winner column and I've wound up in the loser column. So I think Banks just tries to keep my ego down.
Just try to maintain it.
An equilibrium.
Yes, yes.
As soon as he gets a swelled head, we'll bat him down again. So yeah, she's good like that, though, isn't she? Well, you work for her, you should know.
She's a lot of there's a lot of things she keeps in balance.
Let's talk a little bit about how Scout makes its money, though. I mean, some people say, how does a free magazine make money? Well, obviously, if you've ever thumbed through Scout, you see a lot of advertising.
Certainly.
Who handles the advertising? Is it mostly Holly these days, or still?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Still Holly.
it's Holly and our communications director, Laura Stuffler.
Laura. Yeah.
And she's doing some really great work to get out in the community and to kind of not only just facilitate advertisement, but also she brings us leads too.
Yeah,
So
totally.
she's been really helpful.
Yeah, it can be tricky. We definitely, we're a small organization. We want to make sure that we're keeping a fine line between, publishing content and advertising. We did study journalism. We do have our
Media
ethics,
ethics. Yeah.
media ethics background. But Holly and Lara are so good at pounding the pavement and building relationships and being out there in the community. It's awesome. It lets us publish all the
We
all the
kind
great
of just
stuff we
sit
want.
and write, sit around and write a lot and talk to
Well, it
people.
is a fine line. I mean, you've touched on a point that I think a lot of people, when they pick up a free publication on the Metro, that Metro that you find on the subway, people read that and then it's ditched. Unlike a magazine that stays around the house for a while, because people will flip through and then they'll read one article and put it down. So magazines are a little different than a newspaper.
Yeah, I mean, I had someone in Cambridge when I was finishing up the gift guide for the November-December issue. I told her what I was doing. She said, "Oh, you know what? Last year I kept the gift guide for a few months because there were some really good things in there that I wanted to get for some people I knew." So it is something that kind of can stick around, and it's like it's tangible, and it's if you're in it, you want to keep it because it's kind of like this album and this little time capsule.
Absolutely, yeah. You want to be getting copies for your friends and family. You want to be sharing it with the people in your life.
Yeah,
So we
I've
definitely
only
have
kept
that.
the copies that I'm in. So all the rest of them get ditched.
Me too.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, what's going through, Emily? Come on. Big move, though. You're going off of Highland
Absolutely.
Ave onto Highland Ave. It's
Yes.
kind of like people saying, "Hi, Emily. Hi, Emily. Where are you located?" On Highland Ave. But it is a big move.
It is.
Yep.
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah. In distance, it's only a handful of blocks, but I think symbolically it means a lot to us.
But we should tell people where you're going.
We're going to 191 Highland Ave. We'll be at the Center for Arts at the Armory. You can stop by and say hello anytime. We actually welcome it.
Second floor?
No, first floor.
First floor.
Right when you walk in.
So on the right-hand side, that used to be, I think, the director's office.
It was, yeah.
They moved upstairs to give us a little space, and yeah, we decorated, we painted.
Great.
Looks like
Getting our hands
like
dirty.
an office now. It's great.
Yeah.
Did the mogul spring for some new chairs for you, I think?
Actually, though,
Yeah.
Em here built some desks and
I
some
did.
chairs.
I'm adding painting and desk building to my resume.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has to kind of wear a lot of hats sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Welcome to Scat TV. I mean, the staff down here can tell you, we empathize with you. They understand.
You guys should have come help us move.
Yeah. Where
no,
were
I
you?
think we're pretty much done. We're okay with moving furniture. But one of the things I wanted to do, and I did this with a couple of other media folks, we'll do editors' picks. So since you're fairly new, we're gonna let the viewing public know how Somerville you are.
Putting us on the
that?
spot.
Oh,
Ooh,
How's
I like
that?
it.
You know, I didn't cover though. Where are you from originally?
Oh, originally I grew up in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, so you can stay in Somerville for another, 6 months to a year?
That's it, yeah.
And then off you go. And Emily?
I grew up in a very small town in upstate New York.
Upstate New York. Why is it that in this show I always get people from upstate New York, Ohio, or Pennsylvania?
I don't know, they're great states.
Spoken like a true politician. What, are you going to run for office soon?
Curtatone, if you're watching.
There you go. There you
Watch
go.
out.
And then, no, but we did, John Keller from WBZ was from Washington, D.C., so he counts too. So let's do editor's picks.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
And we'll start with Emily.
Okay.
Or do you want to start with Emily?
Emily, I think.
Emily.
Okay.
Favorite hangout in Somerville?
Oh,
And
God.
it doesn't have to
easy.
be where you get sloshed. It doesn't have
well,
to be
it
where
is.
you eat.
It's gonna be.
I mean, I'm just going to go for whatever just came to my mind instantly is Back Bar.
Back bar right here in Union Square.
Yeah, I love that place. I think I love to take people there because they just think, what the heck are you doing? We're going down an alley. Like, no one really knows what they're in for. And then you open this door and very speakeasy atmosphere, and the drinks are just phenomenal. You can tell that the people there really like you know, putting some effort and time into what they
Okay,
make.
no free advertising for your
No.
advertisers.
Buy drinks, please.
Emily.
I actually have to say one of my favorite spots so far, and it's not the place that I get sloshed, has been the Somerville Theater. A few months ago.
Ian Judge. A vote for Ian.
Yeah, a few months ago I got to go see the comedian Louis C.K. when he came to town, announced
saw
those
it,
surprise shows, and I went, and I had been to the Somerville Theater before, but that was the first time that I got to see, you know, a show in that big room, and it was, oh my gosh, it was beautiful. I had such a fun night. Highly recommend. I'll be back.
There you go. Favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant.
Be careful now. You got advertisers who are going to watch this, you know.
We're going to step on so many
If
toes.
you want to take a pass, you can take a pass. My advice is pick something in Boston. And they go, all of my Somerville restaurants are my favorite.
I've got so many. I mean, the food is so good here. It's really hard to pick. You know, I really love the Painted Borough.
Davis Square gets
It's pretty easy, but that's so easy. I mean,
That's true. Yeah, I love the Painted Borough. I love their tequila selection. That's a huge win for me. But I think of all my favorite places, we spend a lot of time at Highland Kitchen.
oh yeah, we do.
There you
Highland
go.
Kitchen.
Cayenne's going to love that. That's right around the corner from her house.
You know, I was also gonna say Union Square Donuts.
Oh my gosh,
obviously.
for real though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that leads us right into your favorite watering hole. Your favorite.
Oh man, we just picked
pick
all
them
of them.
again. I mean, you can
Every
say
category is a favorite bar.
I think
we
that
never leave back bar.
when we came to Scout, and as you know, journalism students and grads, like I think we knew that we needed a bar to go to after a tough day at the Papers. And I think Highland Kitchen has become that for us.
I
It's
think
right
so
down the
too, yeah.
street. It's got a great selection. Yeah, that's where we're good.
That's it. Prices
Alright.
not too bad.
Got some great guac.
All right. Favorite activity?
In general,
No, in the city.
In
the
Somerville.
I have to say, and this is something we talked about when we first started working here as well, I'm a huge cyclist. I love to bike. I bike everywhere. Biking in Somerville is great. The drivers are nicer than the drivers where I've been before. I just think there's a lot of great bike paths. There are so many great bike shops. I've already been to Somerville, Bell. It's perfect to be a cyclist here.
A good reason for you to pump the mayor and say, finish that bike path.
I have a vested interest in
There you
this.
go. There you go. Activity.
I have to echo that, to be honest. I mean, I went from biking to work down Comm Ave in Boston, which is the scariest and possibly the most dangerous place to bike in Boston, and to biking here, and it's just like you're on a cloud. It's so nice.
It is.
Best feature of Somerville. Why you love it so much. And you can't talk about because they're great watering holes, great restaurants, and great biking. Something else. Give me something else.
I really appreciate the several layers of people here. I think that you know, as we are newcomers to Somerville, and there are a lot of newcomers to Somerville, but there's still a lot of people who've lived there all their lives. And I think that I really love running into those people and hearing those people talk to us, and because they really care about Somerville. You know, when Winter Hill, you know, the Somerville design is doing something that a lifelong resident doesn't like, they come and tell us, and they say, you know, these are the problems we had. That, and I just love that they care so much about their city that they're still talking about it, engaged in it.
Someone once likened Somerville, it was a newcomer to the city, they once likened it to me like going to a family reunion. There was the crazy old aunt in the corner and talked the way people talked a long time ago.
Right.
There were the cousins who were horny as hell and you kind of steered clear of them. There was the other folks who drank too much, the other folks who were the wallflowers. But that's what they likened Somerville to. Is that it's like going to a reunion. You know everybody. Once you get there, you learn to know who these people are. And yet you're given the freedom to pick and choose of who you want to associate with.
Absolutely.
And it does have kind of a small town feel to it, but it's still a dynamic urban city.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
I mean,
one more editor's pick.
one more.
What's your favorite Scat TV show?
This
Greater
one.
Somerville, obviously.
Thanks for joining us tonight, folks. It's been lovely, lovely, lovely. We have a few minutes left, so I want you to talk about Scout Magazine, where you want to take it, and eventually the coup d'etat to get rid of Holly Banks.
Well, besides like a cyanide capsule, we are taking it to. We're kind of reimagining what we cover and how we cover it. We're doing. I think we're really raising the bar of the journalism that goes into it. We're asking more of our writers. We're actually paying our writers a little bit more per article. We are kind of just like trying to raise the bar and make sure that we're giving, not just that Scout exists, but that it's
relevant.
It's
Right.
relevant, and you want to read it. It's a good content. It's good writing in addition to what it's covering.
Right. We're definitely trying to step up our web presence. We're doing more posts online. If everyone is not already following us on Twitter and Facebook, they should be. And I think in the future, and it might be far away daydreamy stuff, we really want to start putting on more events. We really want to be involved in the community. You talked about some of the events Holly had roped you into back in the day. We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again.
That's good. That's good, because I think, the focal point for a lot of folks is, especially in the age group that we're now seeing, the demographics of the city are changing very quickly. Media has to be part of the social media scene.
Absolutely.
In order to keep up, because people's lives are just so fast-paced, but they still want that tactile piece of paper when they sit down on a Sunday morning in one of the cafes. They love to read Scout Magazine.
That's awesome.
How's
we want
that
to keep
for a
doing
promo?
that. Yeah, I know. Can we quote you on that?
Yeah, of course you can. Or you can put me in the thumbs up section of the magazine.
We might.
But I want to thank you both very, very much for coming in tonight. I know you have hectic, busy schedules. So now reveal to the public before we go off, which one is which? Emily?
Hopkins.
And
Emily
Casell.
Casell. There you go. So I mispronounced your name at the beginning.
Yeah, you did. I
said
didn't
Casell.
make a big deal
I
out of
tried to
it.
make you French.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
I love baguettes.
I want to thank my guests tonight, Emily and Emily from Scout Magazines. As always, come back and see us again. Tell Holly
Anytime.
I said hello. We'll see you at the new office opening on the 28th.
On the 28th, 4 to 7, open house. Come stop by, say hi.
And stop in and see these folks.
Absolutely.
You got a story? Call Emily or ask for M&M. As always, thanks for joining us. I'm Joe Lynch. Be safe, stay informed. See you next week. Good night, everybody.